Welcome, everybody. My name is Vicky Hanna, and I'm running CHCPRP001 for our Diploma of Youth Work. It is the 18th of August, 2025, and this is week 2 of our 3 weeks that we have dedicated over for this particular unit. So this unit is about developing and maintaining networks and collaborative partnerships with other agencies. So as organisations, people wanting to work in organisations, we need to have connection with other workers in different organisations for lots of reasons. Primarily, this unit is about how do we best help our clients, and we give you a scenario around a young person, and they are central to this whole assessment unit for you. And we are going to do a part 2 where we'll have a couple of our learners in our live class demonstrate the task 2 role play. They'll be doing their role plays live as well. So before we get started, let's do our acknowledgement to country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Cater Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge Elders past, present and emerging. And I extend this acknowledgement out to all of our Hay learners who are watching this recording, and of course anyone from our classes. I'm coming to you tonight from Tarrabland Bundaland in Queensland. Just a little bit of housekeeping, even though this is coming to you as a recording. Sometimes the content can get challenging, and I want you to make sure that you pace yourself and that you take your time with your studies. You are doing a diploma, which is equivalent to a certificate 5, and that at diploma level, there is an expectation that you will do between 15 and 20 hours each week studying. And for some, it's even more, but we want your units, your modules, to align with what it is like for you in the sector. So our assessments are sector driven. Our skills and role plays also sector worker driven. These will help you become a great practitioner in this space. So in session 1, it was all about connection, capacity building, collaboration across our community for our clients, for ourselves, and also for the organisation itself. We spoke about what types of networking there were, how we do that. In the recording, I talk about interagency meetings that you might just go to a speaker session or some professional development, even catching up with other people, doing your renewal of your first aid certificate. You can bump into people who are studying and other people who are also working in the sector. So we work collaboratively. And what are the principles around networking and collaboration? What are the pluses and what are the minuses as well? Not always smooth, those relationships. So with our live classes, we do a couple of icebreakers, but what I wanted to do is draw your attention to one that we do at the end, which is how to do an elevator pitch, which means how do you talk about what you do and who you do that for in 30 seconds or less. And you will talk about first access in your assessments as well. So this is around networking and collaboration. Let me take us over to our actual assessments. Okay, so here I am in the porthole, and it says CHCPRP001, develop and maintain networks and collaborative partnerships. But T1 is task 1. So that's your very first assessment piece. It's an online quiz. Just a little bit of an overview around it. It has 5 questions that you're going to answer in task 1 of your quiz. You'll get your information from your learner's guide and also from some of our class discussions that we do in a recording. So in this task, you'll demonstrate your knowledge that you've gained from your learner's guide, coming to classes or watching class recordings if you can't attend in person. And there's a series of questions that relate to this unit for you. You must answer all of the questions correctly to achieve satisfactory outcome for this. So a great question that's going to come up tonight is it, common where someone doesn't get their first time they submit their assessment and get a pass? It is very common. You're learning to navigate the language and what that means. If you get your assessment, try again, there may be parts of it that you've done really well. So with this, if you got that back, it might be 4 out of the 5 you have as correct. And then there'll be 1 that you may not quite be there, and the assessors will give you feedback around that. And then you submit it again. It saves all of your correct answers, and then you just try again. If you get 3, well, you do get 3 attempts, but if you still need more attempts, then we can open them up. Just contact your learner support officers at lso@hayderinstitute.edu.au. And you've got those contact details. They're the ones that send you an SMS. They're the ones that send you your emails with your class recordings. And they're the ones who, when you first enrolled, it's in that email as well. So we've given you how to get hold of your learner support officers to guide you. So when we have a look at this, it's just saying that you're going to answer these 5 questions and you must answer them all correctly. And you must complete this task in your own time. Someone said, when is it due? Well, we have no set times at Hayder. There's no penalty. You work at your own pace. You can go ahead, or you can ask for extensions if you need to have that additional time. Hayder absolutely understands that people who are studying are often juggling work and other competing priorities. So we have a blended model, which means we offer live classes with the trainer. We send you out the recordings if you cannot make them. You can book with a learner support officer and ask for guidance. And you can book a trainer once a month for 1 hour. And you can make that coaching session coming with all your questions and guidance around that. That support is there for you. So let's have a look at question number 1, what it's asking for you here. So you've got to complete the following table and outline at least 2 legal and ethical considerations in collaborative practice. So copyright and intellectual property, privacy, confidentiality, and disclosure, they will be in your First Access portal if you need it. But what are the legal considerations? They're asking for 2. And what are the ethical? They're asking for 2 under copyright and intellectual property. What are the considerations? So if you are running a program and someone else duplicates that program, is there an intellectual property dilemma there for you? And is that more ethical than legal? If it's copyright or it's trademark stamped, then it definitely belongs. If you are going to use something from another organisation, you must reference them. So when I was working for Mission Australia, we didn't have our own career booklet, though we delivered 21 days in career planning and strategies and reverse marketing people. But what we did do is we had a collaborative partnership, a formal one with the Salvation Army. So we were working with their booklet, and it was a great booklet. And why would we go and create something new when here is a partner we could work with collaboratively and stronger together? So the Salvation Army had a book called No One is Unemployable. And it was a series over 21 days, and everybody went through that workbook and completed it. But even the people who found themselves unemployed would go, I don't really think I need this. I just need a job. But what's great about doing some additional studies and working in collaboration with other organisations is that you've got the input from the other people who attend. That's one thing. And then, of course, you may have an experience that you didn't really fully understand, and you get an opportunity to bring that back up again and consider, what is it and why does that keep happening in positions that I hold? Or do I want to have a completely different pathway? And only 17.5% of jobs come from what's advertised or coming out of your job agency. The rest is word of mouth as well. So really, people find their own jobs, and there is so many to go around, but we are talking tonight about a young person who is just dealing with some struggles, some mental health issues and barriers around that. And they want to work because they don't want to go back to school, but they're just finding that the stresses that they're under, it's really coming across as maybe angry. And it isn't about the anger, but it's about raising awareness and managing that and having some anger management training and support, but getting to the underlying, the root cause of what's really going on here for her. And the more you get to know about this young person, the better you can understand, and of course, the much better plan that you can wrap around. But like I said, you'll see someone bring the client to life tonight as well. With this one here, it's asking you to complete the following table to describe 2 examples of each in the following types of networks. So organisational, individual networking, and virtual. How do we do that? And it's asking for 2 in each of those. And this will all be referenced for you in your learner's guide and a bit of research of your own. In this scenario, research 2 established networks that operate within your local area in which you have an interest. So it's asking you in your quiz, task 1, to research 2 established networks, and you're going to have to put them in there. You're going to have to name what's the name of it, describe the network's purpose and vision. Now that is similar to their elevator pitch. So go onto their website, have a look at their mission, their values, try and get a feel for what is it that they do and put that in there. Describe the type of network and how it is structured. Outline at least 2 key stakeholders in that network. Describe at least 2 ways individuals or organisations can access and participate in the network, and then outline the industry in which the network operates. So in Queensland, I belong to groups like Q Shelter, which is the Queensland Housing and Homelessness, or QCOS, which is Queensland Council of Social Services, and also QAMH, which is Queensland Alliance of Mental Health. Now, they're peak bodies. There's a way that we connect, and we are interagencies in that space. What is available in your local area? How do they do that? This is the world that you're going to be part of. And if you already work in the sector, where do these service providers meet? Sometimes we can be so busy on the front line working that we forget to step back and build those relationships as well. So there's an expression when people are in business, you're just so busy working on, like in that business rather than on that business, and seeing the strategic pathways, plans, and opportunities. Sometimes we're just so busy doing it that we can't recognise this could be a great partnership for us in collaboration. So which of the following principles outline key aspects for both network and collaboration? So here it's asking you to select all that apply. So that's task 1. And that is your quiz. Let's have a look now. So in our recording, we look at task 2, and I'm showing you some slides around that. But what I want to do now is to take you, that was the online quiz, 1 of 4. T stands for task, 1 of 4. Tonight in our recording, in our live class, it's going to be watching people demonstrate task 2, the role play, and we're going to unpack the meaning behind what we're looking for. Watch that. It's your resource to keep. This is not a role play that you do with an assessor, but what we like to do is offer role plays in classes along with our knowledge and key learnings. So we have about 60% of your key learnings and 40% of your skills. We like to run our classes the same way. So usually week 1, and then is our overview. Week 2, we'll unpack it, get an understanding, and maybe do 1 role play or 2 role plays, which is what we did this week. And then week 3, we can focus on role plays. So in week 3, for this one, all of the task 2s will be offered. If there's some people don't want to do it in class, perfectly okay. We'll open it up for task 4, but you will need 3 others in that space because you're going to be holding a meeting with 3 key stakeholders. The next part, though, after task 2 is to work in, I cover how we mark you. So this one here, you don't see that, but this is an observation checklist, which means the assessor is marking you, and I guide you through what am I looking for when I'm assessing you. And we even do some feedback on did those people in their role play meet all of those assessor checklists as well. And if you don't, we'll ask you to submit a part 2, because this one you record in your own time. It's a 20-minute role play. Don't go under 18, don't go over 25. Do your introduction and that as well. But you might like to do part 2. You might be almost there, and the feedback you get could be really great, but we need to see your ID. We need to see a simulated workplace environment. But there might also be some other gaps in there as well. So we'll ask you to maybe keep your first submission and let you know what the gaps are in the second. Or you might decide to do the whole lot, the full 20 minutes again. Here we are in task 3. Now, for this one here, this is about the project. And let me guide you through. So it'll have T3 or task 3 of 4 tasks in total project. So with the overview, it asks you to go into First Access website. It gives you the username and the login password, which is Hader123456. And we talk about that in it as well. In this task, you will meet with a representative of a community service organisation to implement collaborative strategies on behalf of First Access, who you work for in your studies, and to meet with the needs of the client, Lynn Lee, the young woman. You will play the role of support worker, Tori Waller, and what you need is to have in the project, you will need to have the support plan for Lynn Lee. You will have the privacy and confidentiality. You'll have the network and partnering policy and procedure, because you'll be required to work inside their framework. They're your simulated organisation. And that's your project. So when and where will this be completed? In your own time as well. So with the instructions, it's read the scenario below and the 2 emails that follow. The first email is from John Ford, and the second email is from Mary O'Keen, who works at that community organisation that you identified in task 2 role play. Part A of that. You're required to make contact and ensure all of John Ford's points that he raised in his email in task 2 are addressed. Now, task 1 rolls into task 2, rolls into task 3. This is where we are now. It rolls into task 4, which is our next role play. So it says that it's 6 weeks since you set up this relationship with the community service, which you identified in your role play in task 2. And in meeting Lynn Lee's highest priority goal, not what you think it is, what Lynn Lee thinks it is. Read the individual support plan. And even in our recording tonight, we're going to get that come to life. You've got 3 areas that you must cover with Lynn Lee. You will cover perhaps volunteering in hospitality, food, which is where she has an interest. You will have developing maybe a career planning program where she can get an updated resume because she no longer goes to school, so she's looking to work, maybe even work and study, but initially around volunteering and something that she's interested in. And the third one will be around mental health, and it'll be whichever you chose, whichever organisation you selected in part 2 or task 2. In this task, you'll collaborate with that representative again, and that you can support Lynn Lee 6 weeks later. How is that going? So John Ford, head of care at First Access, is contacting you and saying, hey, Tori, I believe that you've now put in place the arrangements for Lynn Lee and her priority of need. This is great. So John's giving you that positive reinforcement. So now he's asking you, please email the organisation you identified as appropriate for supporting Lynn Lee's next highest priority. Please make sure you address the following within your email to them. Introduce First Access. So that's in your email. Provide an overview of Lynn's needs, how long you've been working with her, what the priority needs are, and how you feel the organisation in question can meet those needs. So this is your second organisation. Outline your proposal for collaboration between First Access and the service provider. You will need to negotiate this with the attendees, outline arrangements, and that's the attendees being the organisations. So John is giving you instructions. Please let me know if you have any questions. As you know, we wish to expand our relationships with other service providers, so please represent us positively. And this is how you get back. So when you're doing an email, you have to make sure that you return here to John, his role, and there is his website there. But at the very top, you should have that there. So the email address for First Access is on the homepage when you go in, just to give you a tip there. Okay, so that's the head office, that's its physical location. And it says to Tori, good morning, Tori, we are delighted to work with Lynn Lee. So this is coming back from Mary O'Keefe, which is that service provider. And we feel an informal partnership is best, as this keeps things simple. Please let me know if you feel this will work on you, or would you prefer more formal collaboration? As we both want to support Lynn Lee in achieving her goals, I feel the coordination approach would work well, and this aligns with the needs of both of our organisations. Does this work for you? So you're engaging in that space, trying to connect. I would like to work out what is the best communication method. So how are we going to stay in touch? We can both use, as I feel too much documentation can clog down the system, and we need to trust each other to act in good faith and in Lynn Lee's best interests. Looking forward to hearing from you soon in your response. So that's from Mary O'Keefe. And here it's got, if required, add a note or a written response to accompany your submission. And you're going to drop your file in there. So following the assessment task, that is your instructions for there. So come back. Let's have a look. So that's your project, which is your task 3. And now I'm going to have a look at our 4th and our final, which is task 4 of 4, which is that final role play. So when you go in, you will see that there's an overview. You'll need to get information from First Access. So there's your link there. And it says you will review the collaborative relationships with 3 service providers. So 3 other people will be in this role play with you on behalf of First Access. So you're the lead agent, you're going to facilitate this meeting, and you'll meet the needs of the client, mainly who you all share and support. You will play the role of the support worker, Tori Waller. This task consists of 2 parts. Part A, review the information given and write an email that provides a basis for discussion at a meeting between 3 service providers. So you're sharing this information of where you're going to meet, location, times, and a bit of an overview of what you'd like to discuss and if you need them to bring anything. And then part B, you will meet with these 3 representatives from these 3 organisations and review how the collaboration is going, discuss improvements and identify benefits to all parties. You will complete this task in your own time. And the due date, of course, is I do encourage people to do 3 weeks in classes and then within 3 weeks after that. But after the 3rd week, after next week, we will finish with this unit and we'll be starting a brand new unit. So keep making progress, even if it's 20 minutes a day. Read, and then the next day, do some attempts and get task 1 done. There's 5 questions in that. And here, if you get something wrong, it's just going to come back to you as try again. But the great thing is that you will have some feedback as well. So there's some instructions as well. So provide the role play instructions for those who are playing the 3 parts as service providers. You'll need to perform this to industry standards and expectations, which means your background will look like you're in a setting that suits this. You might choose a cafe setting, but remember, you've got to look after and safeguard that privacy and confidentiality as well. So you can meet, but you need to make sure that nobody is overhearing, or you may meet at one of your stakeholders' locations and have a room there. So that'll be up to you how you decide to do that. So you're required to meet, and then the role play instructions, you need to make sure the people who are going to play those 3 service providers. So it says here your role play should be no greater than 15 minutes, which means it is a 15-minute role play. So if you're going to do that and you introduce it, then that means that there's about 3 minutes of conversations if everybody is contributing, and then an overview and then a summary. So that's a good meeting. Doesn't seem like a long time, but if you want to, you can add your introduction and your overview and your ID. That can be in the first 3 minutes and then make it 15 minutes. But if you give us anything under 13, it's not sufficient. And it's rare that you would have a meeting for 15 minutes. Usually you try and share lunch or go somewhere and have a coffee, and you get to play host, and then you might have 3 or 4 meetings, and then you'll say, well, we'll have it at our organisation this time. So you're going to be able to tell John Ford, that we have met at each of the stakeholders' locations. They've given us a tour around the building. We've got a really good idea on what they provide, and I suggest that we get them to come in and be guest speakers for us. That might be where you go with this one. So the service provider you initially met with in task 2, so you will see a couple of people doing that tonight. One was Salvos, and one was Headspace, and one was Mental Health Australia, which was great. So, and then a representative from the local Vietnamese community needs to be there, and also your service provider in assessment 3, the one that we just spoke about. That's the next one that you add. So these are the 3 that you're going to be working with. So if we've got one that looks after the mental health and we've got one that is the Vietnamese community, the gap there is about community volunteering or something of interest to Lynn Lee, which was her priority around maybe getting ready for work, a career planning program, maybe even looking at some studies in that area of interest where they do that. But there are some very good level entry programs for young people to get set for work. And then, of course, again, thanks for your email. You should now go ahead and schedule a meeting with the representatives of 3. So here's John Ford again guiding you, Tori Waller, the care worker, on the next step in this process. So that's your internal communication. And of course, your responses will be equally as professional during the role play. What we're going to mark you on is, did you outline and discuss the benefits offered by the collaboration between First Access and the 3 service providers in the relationship, you and other service professionals and Lynn Lee? You have to outline and discuss the benefits for everybody and discuss the 2 strengths and weaknesses you identified and what you recommend you could put in place to improve those. Discuss how the relationship established as part of this collaboration can be maintained, and then represent First Access in a positive professional light. Work collaboratively with those 3 service providers. And part B is you will do a video recording of your meeting, no greater than 15 minutes. So there's your 3 role plays that you're doing in there, and you have also your task 1. So there are 4 tasks, and you're going to be covering those in your 4 tasks, your 4 assessments. So let me just stop sharing. That's great. So that's the end of part 1, which is an overview of what is required of you. And then make sure that you've got your learner's guide and download that. Open up a folder, call it Diploma of Youth Work if you haven't already done that. And for this unit, open up a subfolder in your own laptop or your computer and call this CHCPRP001. These recordings are going to come out to you very soon, within a couple of days, and then that's your resource to go back over and assist you with your knowledge questions, your written work, and your skills, which are your role plays. So when it comes to the role plays, we'll mark your role play, and then when the role play is satisfactory, then we will mark the rest of your assessment. So primarily task 2 and task 3 is around role play. So if that isn't correct, well, then none of the written work can be marked, because your written work will align with what you actually did in your role play. So what you record and what you write, those 2 things both have to have happened. So we cannot mark your theory unless we have the practical skills that you've applied it to know that you have passed that. So if it comes back to you, it won't be that you failed it. It's just that we're going to mark the theory once we've got the role play where we need it. And so please don't be discouraged if someone gives you some feedback on how to improve it. That's exactly why we do that for you. But there is a threshold. It's an Australian recognised quality framework that you work to, and it's an accredited national training qualification. So a diploma is a high level. You're working in youth work, so your knowledge and your skills both need to meet a certificate 5. So this is part 1. And just enjoy watching part 2, where we'll have a discussion. We'll talk about the assessments, but we'll bring the sector into that space and how we do that. You'll hear from some of your peers in class, and you'll watch some people do the role plays that are in task 2. So thanks for joining us. Hang on to this recording and this will help you wait for part 2.